Right, so Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, whatever holiday you celebrate, even if it's just a day off work. I hope you had a good one. This video is probably not going to go out before the new year because I have to upload it well beforehand now so that the YouTube algorithm doesn't stick me with some kind of unsuitable for advertising thing. Anyway, we've got lots of parts for these prototypes. I'm only going to make one, and then if it works, these two are going to be sent out to a couple of people for free, I think. I'm sure there was someone that I said I would give one to for free. So at least one of them will be. And then I don't know what I'll do with the other one, but we'll see. So I've got some crystals. I've got some 470 ohm resistors there. Did I even use those? Yeah, I did. They're peppered all over the place. We've got some 4081s, some 4027s, 80 tiny 10. No, I'm not using that. Those are for something else. We've got more resistors here. These are 330k. That's something to do with something, isn't it? Oh God, it's been so long now, I can barely remember. Anyhow, we're going to start off by putting the 4510s on. I'm not sure how far I'll get because I meant to go to the pub, so we'll see. I'll at least get through the 4510s, I think. Where are they? These ones here, aren't they? So let's give that a go, shall we? Right, I've got some tweezers. They're not really appropriate, but I can't see the other ones, so we're going to go with this one. Right, well, I was going to just use a little bit of blue tack, but it turns out I found the circuit board holder, so we're going to use this, and hopefully this will work out. Now, which way round do they go? I see. So we've got the little dot there, so we know which way they go. I'm going to start on this end. In fact, do you think it's best if maybe we make the timing circuit first and then test that? Oh, it doesn't matter if these are in there. Let's just go for it. We'll start with this one over here, I think. So we're going to do the tried and tested method of pushing the IC on. Right, little blob there. Then we'll come over with the tweezers, pick up the IC. It's blooming freezing in here. I'm actually shaking. I might put the heating on. And it'll just push that over until, there we go. Perfect. He says, is that all right? Just push it down a little bit. There we go. Lovely. That one looks all right. Do you want to have a little bit of a close-up look at that? I'll do a bit of focusing. Oh no, that's zooming. I don't know how well you can see that. It's a little bit, it's the first one, so it's not going to be great. Well, it's good enough. This is manual focusing, by the way, which is why I'm never quite sure I've got it. That will do. Right, now we're just going to get the rest of those pins soldered. I should have used wider pads really, because it does look a little bit like there's not quite enough room, but we'll try and get around it. Again, the camera is right above this, so it's kind of difficult to see what I'm doing. And I definitely don't have solder small enough, so we're sort of just taking it. I'm not really feeding it onto the pad, I just can't get there. Small bridge there. Some of these aren't properly done. We're going to have to just a little bit more gung-ho about it and then sort any problems out later. Like, oh no, perfect, that's worked out. Have a little bit of a close-up look at that. On the camera is not all that helpful, but we'll see. I can see that pad isn't soldered, and the one next to it isn't either. Is it a little bit proud? No. I shall redo those back and come back in a second. I just need to be a bit closer to see that. Hopefully I can manage this without messing it up. We'll see though. Oh, I'll tell you what I'm going to use. I'm going to use a bit of flux on here. Well, I'm going to regret that tiny bit of solder there, aren't I? Never mind. Those appear to be done to me. Yep, that looks fine to me. Excellent, let's move on. Let's flick that off. No, that's not coming off. We're going to use that little bit of solder there to tack the next one on, because we now have to. There we are, there's the next one on. Just tacked on mine, so let's put some flux on, because that seemed to help on the last bit. I've got to be careful because there's a lot of wires very close to these vias. I say wires. A lot of wires very close to these pins. Oh, got a bridge there, that's annoying. I shall get some solder wick out in a second and sort that. I might just be able to flick it out actually. Let's find out. Yeah, there we go. So I'll give you a little bit of a close-up of that. Not terrible. I mean, it's not pretty, is it? But it all appears to be done. There's quite a lot of solder on that pin there. Oh well. All right, move on. Incidentally, while I'm doing this, because I think I might fast forward some of this, I was thinking about, because this is a clock, I was thinking about time. And so I did a bit of Googling to find out, well, this soldering iron's gone a bit funny. As I was saying, I've been thinking about time, so I did a bit of research about the nature of us recording time. Because I know this clock isn't going to be very accurate, but I'm not sure people expect accuracy from a clock, do they? When I see a clock, I'll take it as the time, but I won't imagine that it is incredibly accurate. This, for example, has got a 1 Hertz timer using a 4060, dividing the time down from the 32.768 kilohertz crystal thing, or 32,000, whatever it is. It's got one of those, so it isn't going to be the most accurate thing ever. It's going to change with temperature, over time, the aging of the crystal, all of those different things, oh nuts, are going to change the frequency that it uses, kicks out. But I was thinking, how did we all just decide that we were going to start trusting clocks? So we originally started using sundials as a method of telling the time. And then I did a bit of research, and it turns out we started using Greenwich Mean Time in the UK. Other people use different things. We use Greenwich Mean Time. And that started around, 1840. And it was all to do with the railways, the railway time, so that trains would run on time and arrive at other stations at the correct time. So the railways decided that they would synchronize clocks between stations, and they started using the Greenwich Mean Time set in Greenwich. Now, the weird thing about that was we used to have local time in the UK, so the UK doesn't really stretch a whole time zone, but the time between dawn or sunrise can be different by like 30 minutes across the UK. So it is interesting to me that we switched to using this railway time. Oh, this is messy. We'll come back to that. So yeah, I thought it was actually pretty fascinating. If you read up about it, it's really interesting. So people would have sundials that set the time, but they'd also have people would come round. I guess this is in the Victorian times. They'd have people coming around with a clock set from the station, and that would be the time that they could all set their clocks to. So people would pay someone to come over, which is really interesting. It surprises me that they wouldn't just go to the neighbour and ask them what the time was. I guess not a lot of people had clocks at the time. Do you know, I'm not sure I did flux on this. In fact, I'm going to use some to help this wick. Yeah, so I find that kind of fascinating that that was a time when we didn't all recognise one time zone in the UK. A lot of people were resistant to London time as they saw it. I suppose there is quite a lot of hostility towards London, or has always been, as being the centre of pretty much everything, is what it's sort of... Is this soldering iron not getting hot anymore? What's going on? Doesn't feel very hot. Anyway, this clock will not be very accurate. It's going to lose a lot of time. So I hope nobody expects it to be incredibly accurate. And of course, it's only as accurate as people set it to be. So yeah, I mean, the trains, so they used to have different times at different stations. So if you were to go cross country, then you might arrive at a town and you'd have to change your watch when you got there by 10 minutes. Fascinating, really. But it would also mean that that train might be late because it left on time but arrived at the wrong time, locally at least. So I hope you've all had a nice holiday if you got one. I know some people do end up having to work through these things. I didn't get up to an awful lot. I went to a pub on Christmas Day, which was really awesome, and I went in. They have this is the first time they've done it, but they have a picture on Christmas Day is what they've decided to do, their new tradition. But there was a pub in Leicester where I used to go. It was called the Pump and Tap, and that also had that tradition, and I was in a couple of those, I believe. So, but that pub is now closed. It's been demolished, actually, to make way for a sports centre. Oops. Very clumsy watts. There we are. That looks okay. Next one. Only two more left of these. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I put them in all the right way for now. There's a little bit of a trick down here because this one has a different orientation. I did try and design the board so it wouldn't, but it just made it much more complex to do that, so I changed it. So let's put a bit on that pad there. There we are. Let's put a bit of solder on this pad. Actually, we'll choose this one. There we are. So, did I forget the flux again? I did. Oh dear. So it So it's been a while coming this, hasn't it, this clock? So I apologise for that, but it can't be helped. I didn't have the parts for a fairly long while, and OSH Park delivered a lot quicker than I expected. Oh, look at that, it's going quite well. Just one little solder bridge there to sort out. Oh, and I was on the wrong pin there, brilliant. There we go. They look all right. Last one of these, and then I'll have a look at the time and see how long this has taken, because it might have taken a while. Right, first things first, we'll put a bit of flux down, because when it gets sticky, it'll help that chip stay there. Oh, and incidentally, I'm not quite sure whether this board is really going to work. A lot of it's just sort of theoretical, because while I have a prototype, the layout is very different from this, so I can't be sure if it's going to be... Oh my word, what's going on? I'm not quite sure if it's actually going to work. There might be some issues with the timing on the 1 Hertz clock, because while I've made a small board for that and it worked really well, which was great, I can't guarantee it's going to work on this. In fact, I suppose that's the same with anything you make, isn't it? You're never quite sure. I'm never 100% confident. There we are. Those are looking quite good. And then the last, oh, that's it. That's it. So we've got all of those on there now. Let's have a little look at that. So any of you with there we go. Any of you with 4K monitors or TVs should be loving this right about now. So yeah, they look okay, don't they? Let's clean them up a little bit, shall we? I mean, I can see what's going on between those pins as well, just in case I've missed anything. And you know me, I probably have. Right, time for a good old look. They look okay. First one looks fine. Second one looks fine. Third, a bit too much solder on those joints. In fact, on all of them, there's a bit too much solder. But I think they're okay. It's not pretty. but it'll do. Yeah, there we go. Okay.